Hello and welcome back to Lap of the World. I'm Richard, and if this is your first time watching, as the channel's name implies, my goal here is to try and drive every road course in the world. Now just last week we drove our 21st track, and with something like 130 tracks in North America alone, we still have our work cut out for us a bit. But what that means is you are in on the ground floor, and if you click the subscribe button and the bell, you will get a notification anytime we check another track off the list. Now, today, unfortunately, we're not out at another racetrack, but we're in the garage. And that's because last week at Memphis, I was doing a little bit more than just checking the track off the list and experiencing my first SCCA track night in America. I was also doing a little bit of product testing. So today, we're going to talk data logging apps. Stick around. Right, so data logging. Having data from your driving on track can be absolutely invaluable and indispensable for doing things like car setup or developing yourself as a driver. Obviously, my reasoning for having data logging is a little bit different. I certainly try and use it for those things when I can, but largely what I'm looking for is a way to sort of share with you what's actually going on track by giving you the visual context of an overlay with a speedometer and a track map or maybe a G meter to kind of, since you're not in the seat with me, give you a more of a, some context about what's going on at the time, how fast we're moving, what the track looks like, where we are on the track, so that way if you want to use my videos to try and learn a track before you go, it's easier to do. Now, back in March at the NC Car event that I went to with the Tidewater Sports Car Club, I came to the realization through a kind of video production fail-tacular that my, the previous data logging app that I had been using for the last decade or so was just not going to be viable going forward. The antique smartphone, I guess I would call it, that I'd been using, it finally bit the dust, and the free TrackMasters was the name of the app that I'd been using. It just wasn't going to be, it wasn't playing nice with the new Android operating system updates. And also I couldn't find where the app was actually supported by anybody anymore. So I suddenly became in the market for a replacement. The Memphis event, though, provided a convenient and fairly low pressure opportunity to do some testing. So what I did before I left for that event, I downloaded 3 different data logging applications for my Android phone, and I tried one of them in each of the sessions that I drove with the track night event. Now today, to keep the playing field level, I'm only going to talk about 2 of those, and those were the 2 free ones that I downloaded. Now, before we get into the meat of the video, I do want to make a couple of points clear. First, I do not intend this to be a how-to video. I'm not going to get into a ton of detail on the specific setup and settings or overcoming any small challenges that I ran into with these applications. I may do that in the future when I kind of settle on one or more that I will be using and can actually get stuck into the technical side of things myself. The second part is I don't also intend this to be a blow for blow or feature by feature comparison of these applications. I'm looking at this more from the standpoint of how intuitive are they to use, how easy is it to just jump in and go, and then at the same time, how kind of frustration-free are they with respect to being able to take that data and get it over into a video as a visual overlay so you guys don't get bored watching laps. So with all that said, let's get started. The 2 applications that I'm going to be looking at today are, in the order in which I tried them, the RaceChrono app by RaceChrono and the TrackAddict app by HP Tuners. Now, as I said before, I tried both of these apps in separate sessions at Memphis International Raceway. The only thing I did for all of the apps in question ahead of time was to get the track set up or downloaded or whatever in the application, so I wasn't having to fiddle with that right before I went out for a session when I should really be doing other things like checking tire pressures, lug torque, and getting myself situated to drive. So with that said, though, the first one we're going to look at is RaceChrono. RaceChrono was pretty easy to get up and running.
From the home screen, I was able to go to tracks and, without creating an account anywhere, manually add MIR as a track using some GPS markers. I suspect if I'd waited, it would have also appeared in the nearby tracks list as well. You are prompted to select a track when you press the big red start button before any logging can begin. Once that's done, this is the display you see while you're driving. You can opt for an alternate display if desired. I stuck to the Foursquare, and this is what it looked like in the car. Once off the track, the Sessions button on the home screen took me to where the data had been saved, and there I could view some of the highlight numbers from the session, as well as look at a lap-by-lap breakdown. From the Sessions screen, I could also opt to export the data in one of a number of formats to facilitate further analysis or creating a video overlay. For creating overlays using the RaceChrono data, I experimented with both RaceChrono 2 AVI, which I had been using with the TrackMasters app, as well as RaceRender. Now, RaceRender is actually an HP Tuners product, the same people who built the second app we'll look at today. With that pro-level segue on the table, let's talk about TrackAddict. This app was equally simple to get up and running. From the home screen, you tap Select Track and add or define the track you want. The search feature was a little more friendly than RaceChrono, allowing you to search a database without logging in anywhere, or add a nearby track with GPS markers. Some permissions are required to set up the integrated video feature, something that is not available in the free version of RaceChrono. And then to start recording, you just tap the big red button at the top of the screen. This drops you onto the driving display, and here's what that looked like in car. Once back in the paddock, I could go to the file folder icon on the home screen and find my session and associated data, and crucially, video. Unlike the free version of RaceChrono, TrackAddict does include the ability to use your device's camera to shoot integrated video. This could be a boon for between-run download sessions, if not for a particular problem I encountered. Now, in my case, there was some issue with either the GPS marking for the start-finish line or some other shenanigans in the application, because when I look at the data on the phone, I only see an 11-second outlap and a 14-minute in-lap. This is also what displayed as I drove, so I had no idea what lap times I was turning during the session itself. I assume there is probably a similar lap-to-lap comparison to what I saw on RaceChrono, but due to the problem, it shows up as one epic jumble of multiple laps. Fortunately, off the phone, the issue magically went away when the data was exported to RaceRender via a slick network import, a necessity because the file folder where the TrackAddict data stored on the Android file system was locked down. Yes, I'm rolling my eyes really hard right now. The individual apps did delineate when creating the video overlay. Having addressed both apps on their own, I now somewhat have to talk about how I was able to get from the logged data to the video overlay. The free version of RaceChrono does not include the ability to use integrated video from the phone camera, it just logs data. If you want video, bring your favorite action camera. As mentioned, the free version of TrackAddict can also run video through your phone's camera or cameras, although the app can also control a Wi-Fi action camera as well. In my case, I used both my old standby RaceChrono 2 AVI as well as HP Tuners RaceRender to create overlays. The free version of the RaceChrono timing app will only export 2 minutes of data, but it will export it in a format that can be used with either overlay software. TrackAddict will export an entire session into RaceRender, but does not have a CSV file format that worked with RaceChrono to AVI. Speaking briefly about the overlay rendering software itself, RaceChrono to AVI is nearly a decade old, if not older at this point. It can be clunky to use, but it has no limitations on output length. If you want to upload an entire 20-minute session, go for it. Its gauge map displays are what you get, and it only outputs, as the name implies, in a .avi format, which may or may not be compatible with some modern video editing software. RaceRender, on the other hand, is comparatively new and really pretty slick. It will ingest whatever data and multiple video channels, help you sync them, and provide you with a wide selection of overlays. It will only output up to 3 minutes of overlaid video in its free version, but aside from the output time limitation, the only other caveats being a locked brand stamp, you can move it but not resize it or delete it, and an end frame flagging the user as a frugal person by denoting the use of the free software. Here is an example of a RaceChrono to AVI overlay. And here is one of many possible overlays from RaceRender.
Cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted there. I just had an eBay offer accepted for some wheels for this guy. But that's a video for another day. Back to the task at hand. Right, so where does that leave us with respect to these two free timing apps? Well, taking them one by one, first, RaceChrono, I really appreciated the clear, uncluttered driving display. The characters were very easy to see in my peripheral vision, but it wasn't distracting at all. The logged data was also very easy to review on the phone with the lap chart and the little highlights, and it was very simple to export. I could either send it from the app, or I could just plug the phone in as an external device to a PC and drag it over from the file system. On the negative side for RaceChrono, the 2-minute limitation on the data export, that won't even cover an entire lap at some facilities and some cars. Also, the lack of in-app video kind of limits the free version's usefulness for between run group download sessions. Although that is available in the premium version of RaceChrono, it's not in the free version, so we can't put it in the plus column. However, what we can put significantly in the plus column for RaceChrono, especially great for small time software, is that it worked 100% the first time I tried it. TrackAddict's big bang for your lack of buck is its ability to record video and then generate an overlaid video in the app itself. So really, if you don't care about sharing your video off your phone, it's a one-stop shop. You can look at that, you can look at both your lap data as well as watch an entire video of yourself with overlay data in between runs without needing an external device like a laptop or a desktop. Unfortunately, I think it does kind of fall down a little bit with the driving display. It's a little bit cluttered and more busy than I would like for something to reference out of my peripheral vision. That, and I really got a bad taste in my mouth was that whole lap split data issue where it was just running a single time the entire session instead of showing the lap splits. Again, that could have been a failing on my part, but I don't know. I'm not ready to own that one just yet. Maybe more to come. Now, once you get off your device and start looking at the overlay rendering software, HP Tuners pulls it back a lot with that RaceRender software suite that is really slick, modern, and easy to use, even in its free version. So condensing this down into a right this second conclusion of sorts, I think right now I would be inclined to use the RaceChrono app on the track and then dump the data out of that over into the RaceRender software suite to make the pretty overlay. But that's not the whole story, is it? Because we've just been talking about free stuff. Once you start spending a little money, then you have the question that I'm probably already going to get in the comments. What about Harry's lap timer? That's been kind of the standard for years, and a ton of people use it. It started out on iOS, but now also there's an Android version. And I actually tested it at Memphis. I just didn't include it in this comparison because it costs money. There is no free version of it. So what I'm going to do the next time I go to the track is, I'll pony up. I will buy the premium version of RaceChrono, which does video. I may even spend a little buck or two to update RaceRender, since that looks like it's a pretty solid tool. And then I already have Harry's, so we'll get to see really what's what when you decide to spend money on your lap timing app. So look forward to that next time. I hope you found this video useful and took something away from it. If you did and you liked it, please like it, subscribe, click the bell, and you'll get a notification anytime I go back to the track or do something else hopefully useful like this. But in the meantime, I'm Richard, this is Lap of the World, and I will see you guys in the next video, if not at the track.